Well, hello and welcome to The New Normal, a series of virtual discussions intended to help us get out of our comfort zones and debate different perspectives of the future while meeting some amazing people while at it. My name is Todd and I'm your host. On this episode, we have Barbara Bickham giving a talk on Global Pivot, how to reimagine your company. Barbara Bickham is the founder and managing director of the award-winning Women's Innovation Fund Accelerator, an opportunity zone venture fund growing and scaling emerging tech companies by using a mix of acceleration sustainability by requiring companies to have a gender-balanced C-suite. Barbara is also a founder and award-winning CTO at Trailyn Ventures, growing and scaling companies by innovating with blockchain and AI technology. Following her talk, we will go into breakout rooms for 25 minutes. Afterwards, we'll return to this main room for open discussion. If you're watching this episode on Facebook, you can join us in the Zoom by visiting thenewnormalseries.com. Now, without further ado, here's Barbara Bickham.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate the introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm going to share my screen very quickly because I have a couple of slides. All right, so I am Barbara Bickham. I am the founder and CTO at Trailyn Ventures. Trailyn Ventures is going through a global pivot. So we kind of do two things. We help bootstrap no-code MVP companies turn into emerging tech companies. So if you want to put code onto your company and do anything in the blockchain, AI, AR, IoT, quantum space, that's one thing I do. The other thing I do is I train first-time investors on how to create their ultimate portfolio by teaching them what makes an investable emerging tech idea. I've talked to many investors and a lot of them don't know what a blockchain is. Some of them know what AI is. Hardly any of them know anything about quantum computing. So how are they going to invest in the next Ubers and Lyfts and Slacks and people like that if they don't know anything about the technology? So that's a little bit about me. So I'm going to talk for the next few minutes about the global pivot and why am I uniquely positioned to do that. So 2 years ago in 2018, I got into the blockchain space. The blockchain space is very interesting, but when I got in there, it was a little bit after the peak of 2017 when Bitcoin and blockchain kind of hit the map in the first time. It was at 20,000. A lot of people tried to purchase Bitcoin, and I started really looking at blockchain seriously in that way. And in 2018, I got my second blockchain client. They were called Exchange Rate IO. Exchange Rate IO is one of those bots that helps you trade on various exchanges. They're still alive. And we raised them $10 million as their interim CEO there. And that was kind of my initial initiation into the more globalized blockchain and software market, because there were advisors from Russia, there were advisors from Europe, and there were the company was in Seychelles, but the founders were in Africa. So we had a plethora of global people that we worked with on a continuous basis. And so what does that have to do with kind of the new normal now? Well, last year, I was in multiple countries. I was in Europe, I was in Monaco, I was in Kiev, I was in DC, I was in Korea, I was in Hong Kong. And I got an opportunity to see how all those other companies and businesses and environments and governments were running and how they thought about startups, companies, funding cycles, and things of that nature. And in that process, I learned that, hey, you got to be able to be adaptable because, I was in some places where I didn't quite know the language. And was it a barrier? Yes and no. So why do I say that? I say that because now we're in a time where everything has now gone virtualized. So how do you make sure that your company is being heard and being seen, especially if you want some type of investment? So all of the countries, I've talked to my Russian friends, I have friends in Australia, I have friends in Europe, I have friends in Croatia, I have friends kind of globally. Everyone was on global lockdown at some point or another. Now, some places are opening up more, and we're still a little shut down depending on where you are. And then other places are more open. And then I know Russia and them are still kind of on lockdown. So and then some people have gone back on lockdown. My friend in Australia was off of lockdown. Now she's back on lockdown. So how do you go about really allowing your company to move forward in this times of uncertainty? Well, I've been through 2 or 3 other times of uncertainty. In California, we have earthquakes. So I was in the 94 earthquake. Luckily, I wasn't like in Northridge, but I knew several people that were there. And that was a trying time here in California because things shifted. Then everybody, I was in 9/11. That was a shift and a time shift as well. And then everybody was in 2008 when the whole US economy crashed. The world economy didn't crash, but a lot of economies were very impacted by 2008. And if you think about the companies that survived and the companies that thrived were the ones that innovated during these challenging times. So is it time for the question yet, Todd? So I think the question is, and what we've been doing here at WIFAX and at Trailyn as well, we have been repositioning things so we can grow and scale on a more virtualized basis. And that helps you reach more people. And that also helps you be in a different position than other companies. Because I've met local companies here in California that have not had the ability to pivot. And I've also met companies globally. And there are kind of 2 kinds. They're the kinds that aren't adapting and they'll be gone, disappeared. And then they're the ones that are innovating and building and staying the course and putting their head down and putting the hard work in, and they're thriving. So I guess my question to you guys is, what are you doing with the time now that is helping your company innovate so you can fit back into the global economy when the globe opens back up? That'll be my question.
Awesome. We're going to go in the breakout rooms and discuss that then.
Awesome.
Give me 1 second. Hey, Bree.
What's up, Todd? How are you?
Doing well, man. How are you? It's been a while.
It has been a while. Good to see you. I've been meaning to attend one of these talks for a while. I'm glad I finally did. This is great.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we had a few different breakout rooms. I think we're waiting for some more people to come back in. But yeah, how are you weathering the storm? Are you in LA still?
Still in LA, working at a fintech startup, and we're putting together a new design practice. Getting a chance to. There's an AI product company that they acquired that we're working on, so I'm getting finally a chance to actively work on an AI project. So that's exciting.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Are you still in LA? Are you?
Yeah, still in LA and then downtown. And yeah, man, just getting through it all.
Yeah. That's what we were just talking about, the adjusting to the new normal. Very strange new world.
Just got to build it. Just got to build it. Just got to keep building. It'll all be fine eventually.
Jason, what did you guys talk about in your breakout room?
Hey, Todd. We were talking about climate change quite a bit. Yeah, and some different areas of AI. How I think one of the last things we were talking about is how these black box AIs where we may have gotten off topic a little bit actually. How we don't necessarily know what, why a neural network would make its decisions, why it makes certain classifications. And what else did we talk about, Jeff? I know we did answer the question, but we went on a few other topics for sure.
That's okay. I mean, that's a part of building. Like having strategic conversations is equally as critical as just building. Because you don't just go and build things without any end goal in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is we're trying to see the world as it's developing, and it's developing very fast. And
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, the acceleration to digital. I mean, with Zoom and DocuSign and Teledoc and all these companies that we're seeing suddenly become conglomerates. You definitely have to keep adapting your business strategy for sure.
100%.
Yeah. How do you think about this, Barbara? Like what are like the main drivers of change? Like when you're thinking about companies having to adapt?
Well, I mean, as I was saying in my breakout, I've seen massive adaptation multiple times. So, I went through the dot-com bubble, that had some winners and losers. Went through 9/11, that had winners and losers. 2008, massive, economic disruptions, that had winners and losers. And the one thing that you think about is what kind of business and revenue models and companies and strategies came out of that. So if you think about the last time that we kind of had some economic slowdown, that's what I'll call that, versus global pandemic, which is what I call this, is that Uber came out, Lyft came out, the gig economy came out, the circular economy came out. So some of the business and revenue models, AI came, AI is actually more prevalent than the blockchain. Most people don't recognize that. So when you go to McDonald's and you order, then you're actually talking to an AI. You're not talking to a person. It's assisted. It's a hybrid. So like you're talking to the AI, and then if the AI has a problem, it'll get the person to jump in there. So if you think about where is everything going, I think, like you said, with the advent of more video now, I think people are going to get more and more used to how do we communicate with our voice and face. And I've also heard a lot about voice only. So podcasts are still very popular.
Right.
And then how are we going to use, you could say Alexa, blah, 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 Google Home, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, we do give voice instructions. It's still the most powerful thing we have. It can always be similar to a fingerprint, not exactly, but everyone's voice has different tonation, different kind of signatures. So how is that going to be used moving forward? And then what other, let me think. I mean, I know the quantum computer is coming. So
Right.
You have to think about what are the services that are going to be eliminated? Like, I'll give you an example. I'm working with a company that's doing central bank digital currencies.
Yep.
So they're trying to, but for underbanked and unbanked. So how do you go about deploying that when that's all going to be on a quantum computer? People don't really trust the government. People may not, understand like cryptocurrency. They may not understand digital dollars. How are you going to spend that versus of traditional money? How do you stay anonymous? Because you're really not anonymous on the blockchain. It's funny. I was talking to somebody and they were, they've been catching these criminals with Bitcoin. And I said, well, look, criminals can't escape with Bitcoin. They know who you are. And if you cash it in, you had to do some kind of KYC. They know who you are. So like you're an idiot.
Unless you're Monero.
Well, I mean, even then they can kind of catch you. It's harder, but they can still get you. Trust me. But anyone using the Bitcoin network for a criminal activity, that's why they're criminals.
Yeah. Well, with Monero, I mean, everything is completely in the dark, so it actually would be anonymous.
They've caught some people on Monero. It's harder, trust me, it's harder, but they have caught a few. It's not impossible to be caught. It's harder.
Possible. It's always possible.
It's harder.
With quantum computers too, and I think you brought up a good point. I mean, think about blockchain and Bitcoin. I mean, even the Bitcoin network, once you have a quantum computer, the Bitcoin network is no longer viable because someone could then create a 51% attack on it, right?
Yeah, well, you would have to become a mining machine at that point, and then that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But the way
yeah.
I envision the quantum computer and the blockchain is, and a lot of people tell me this, hey, everyone's going to get a quantum computer and all these blockchains will get hacked. I don't necessarily believe that. Because like I don't know who's got $500 million to pay for that. I mean, that's very expensive at this point. But I mean, you could have bad actors as far as countries. So, somebody, it could be like a cyber warfare in that way. But the way I look at it is all the blockchains will go onto the quantum computer. You're going to have to move them onto those boxes. And then the thing about it is, because that will have enough processing power, memory, everything, you could put the AI on top of that as well. And then you have a little bit smarter box than you can do now. You still have to separate AI from blockchain because they have, they both are very intensive in their compute and processing power. So you can't have them on the same box.
Yeah, it does.
So that's my vision. Blockchain and box, that's what I call it.
There is some intersection between all three of the technologies for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, can you deploy a decentralized AI onto blockchain?
I've seen that. I've actually seen that. I don't know what happened to those guys, but they had it was very brilliant what they were trying to do. But those are hard problems to solve, especially, if you think about when you're early at solving a problem like that, then, the technology isn't quite there, just like Zoom. So back in the day in 2005, we tried to do kind of VOD and streaming early on internet. There's no Zoom, like we got HD quality here. There's no HD quality in 2005.
Oh, not even close.
I mean, so like if you think about, that those were wonderful ideas, but sometimes technology has to catch up as far as hardware and machines. So if you don't have that, and this is a part of a global pivot as well, it's kind of like, okay, sometimes things need to evolve at all levels before you can move forward at any level. So like without the quantum computer, you really can't have blockchain and AI together because they have to be on two separate boxes. Then you really can't have a decentralized, you can't have a decentralized AI because how are you going to decentralize it? It still has some centralized attributes, but if you kind of can separate it off onto a quantum computer, you can kind of keep that separated out.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to. I mean, I think it will be. Everyone will have access, just like we have access to, Siri and Alexa and
absolutely
all these open source tools.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I really was impressed with your background. Thanks for coming on and everything.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Todd and I worked together like a whole nother blue moon ago. So
oh,
I
really?
appreciate him. Yes, we did. I worked on his AI, one of the 6 AIs I wrote.
Oh.
So I've written 6 AIs by hand, by scratch. And Todd was one of the AIs I wrote in my I went into the that's why I got into the blockchain space late. It's actually kind of funny. People ask me how I got in the blockchain space. In 2015, I tried to crack in there as a developer and it didn't work. So I kind of went off and did my AI thing. And Todd was one of the first AIs I wrote by hand.
Oh.
So I've written 6 AIs. I've written for Alexa. I've written for Watson in Todd's case. I've written Decision Engine. That was just straight Python. So we've written for Facebook Messenger. So I've written for a lot of the AIs.
You've done a lot. So Todd is an AI. Todd, you're not human. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Is Todd an AI? He might be. I don't know. At this point, he might be.
I might need an update,
Update your software. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So I said I had a funny Wuhan story, and I actually really do. So I'm going to tell my Wuhan story. I see my friend Morvid is on here. I don't think I told you this, Morvid, but in January, I was in Hong Kong. It was January the 15th. And I spoke at something called chain analysis. Thanks for coming on, my friend. We're overdue for a coffee.
Good to see you.
We're overdue for a coffee.
Yes,
we'll have to
do
do that
soon.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
That's a nice background there.
Thanks.
Yeah, I like that.
Hi, Anna.
Hey, good to see you.
You too.
Let's see. I was in China, chain analysis. So I spoke to 12,000 people in China. That was kind of a lot. I'm not used to that many at one time, but it was fun. So the next day was kind of a break day. and it's weird because when you fly from China, you go from, you know, it's tomorrow to today. So it was kind of weird. So I left on actually I spoke the 14th. The 15th was the break day. And then the 16th, I'm flying back because it's 11 o'clock in the morning. And then I got back at 11 o'clock in LA. But on the 16th, I'm flying back and I get a text message from my friend. And she goes, Barb, there's some virus in China. And I'm like, do you realize China is like the United States is like a big place? Like, I said, well, where is it? So I started naming some places: Guangzhou, Shanghai, Shenzhen. I said, Beijing. I said, where is it? She says, I don't know. You have to Google it. Thinking, I'm leaving here. I don't have to Google anything. I said, if I got some weird thing, I just got it. Because I'm like literally getting on the plane. So I fly back, and then kind of the next day, luckily, I had to go down to Anaheim because I was speaking at NAMM. And it was funny because the next day, on the 17th, was the day when they started doing the actual temperature taking. So if you came back from that area, like basically they were starting to quarantine you and take the temperature. And I go, wow, I just missed that. Thank goodness I didn't have to, I missed it by one day. I didn't have to like take all that temperature and do the quarantine thing. Yeah. So I just thought that was the funniest thing. And now, you know, Hong Kong's pretty much closed. And I just think it's the saddest thing because the funny thing is when I went, a lot of people said, are you going to support the protesters? I'm like, why are you going to a foreign country to protest? Who does that? I'm just like, that's not a thing. You're an American. You don't want to kind of mess with other, you know, I mean, you have to be respectful of other people's cultures and laws and all that. I said, no, I'm not going to participate in riots and protests. I'm going to speak at this big blockchain thing, which come to find out, you know, China's actually really, really interesting. I didn't know, like, really it was illegal to talk about cryptocurrency there. So we were talking about blockchains, that was legal. Cryptocurrency, not so much. And then they have no, so it was funny because we were trying to trade information and they said, oh yeah, we don't have a WhatsApp, we have WeChat. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I was supposed to go to that too, but then I had a work thing. So I'm glad I didn't go because it would have been not.
Well, I mean, you would have got back the same time I got back.
Yeah. So I would have been scared.
You would have missed it.
Maybe, hopefully. Who knows?
You would have missed it. It was the day before.
Maybe you would have
because
gotten COVID.
You know, Hong Kong is here. Wuhan's like way up here. Like, you know, it's
yeah.
like saying, you know, we're in Southern California and this thing happened in like Oregon or Seattle. Like, I'm like, okay, well.
Just scary. So I was glad.
It was just so funny to me. I was just like, this is the weirdest thing ever. The whole
thing,
no, I'm not going to protest either.
Yeah, the whole thing, I can't even believe that we didn't do anything. Like, I started hearing about it in kind of late January, and I was like, why is no one reacting? Like, why is the US not doing, why are we having direct flights from Wuhan, even though Wuhan shut down? Like, it was crazy. I was like,
yeah, I didn't understand.
China's not having flights from Wuhan, but the US, for some reason, is still having direct flights.
Yeah, that was very disconcerting to me because I'm like, wow, and it's not just Wuhan. It's like they should have shut down. You know, like Hong Kong, like they had to shut down like a lot of stuff if you think about it. Because you could have gone from Wuhan to Hong Kong and then gone out.
People were doing.
A lot of people were going to South Korea as well, going out. Canada. A lot of people were going to Japan, going out.
Yep.
There were a lot of places you had to close off.
Well, now we're closed up from everywhere, so.
Well, that's true. So I did get invited. Here's my other funny story. So last year I was in Monaco at a private wealth conference. And so in Monaco is like LA on an island. So they had all the stuff. I wasn't impressed by all their stuff. Their Fairmont's not that nice. But anyway, they invited me to go back. And I was like, okay. Because somebody's like, hey, I heard you were coming. I said, who said that? I don't know who. Because A, I'm in California. Can I even fly anywhere? B, if I did fly somewhere, I'm not going to be stuck in France. C, if I want to be stuck somewhere, it's not in France. So like, you know, I mean, you got to be careful if you're flying around somewhere, like especially into a foreign country, because you might get stuck.
I got it. I was talking to someone who was stuck. She had gone out to like Turkey before this for vacation, and she literally got stuck out there, and she's still stuck out there, and she doesn't even think she can make it back because she has to take like 5 connecting flights, and she is afraid she'll get stuck in the airport, and so she doesn't want to be stuck in the airport, so she's just staying in Istanbul.
Yeah, I have friends that are stuck in Hawaii. That's not terrible, but they're like literally they can't get flights out. They just can't leave. You know, like if you're on some kind of island, you're not going anywhere. Just stuck.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind being on New Zealand though, since they haven't had cases in like what 100 something days.
Oh, they supposedly had some cases in the last couple of days, like 2 or 3.
That's still way better than we are doing. I'd take that.
It's all good. So Marvit, how are you adjusting to the global change?
I've just been adjusted. You know, I already work with clients virtually. Like I have clients down here up in Silicon Valley. So like the work thing hasn't been a big adjustment. It's been more like I can't leave the house. Going stir crazy, right? Like, I'm a big outdoors person. So love hiking, love, going to the beach, things like that. And just so it's been, okay, I can't do that. Let me find other ways to work out and kind of try to relax. But, I'm seeing I was talking to my breakout. I'm seeing really interesting trends, right? During this time, I'm seeing new business, a lot of new businesses, deal flow for a lot of clients has gone back up since I would say late May. And then the other thing I'm seeing is just different sectors of the industry are being affected in very different ways. So like med tech clients, exponential growth, clients kind of travel, tech, event space, having to really pivot, and some of them actually decide to close because that area is affected for many years to come.
Well, and it's interesting if you think about like CESs and the blockchain, LA Blockchain Summit. If you talk to any of these, I've been on, we've been on some together, and I've been on some without you. But like if you talk to several of these conference organizers, and you go, hey, what are you guys doing, during this time? It's been very interesting to see like who's shifting online and who's not shifting online. And, it's going to be a very interesting experiment to see like CES, where you normally have 200,000 people, which is insane anyway. It's like way too many people in Las Vegas anyway. But I mean, they had probably clocked when I was there. I went 2 years ago, 200,000 people or 250. I mean, literally it was the whole town. Like before it was just like one little convention center. Then it was like that in the Sands. Now it's like every hotel. I'm like, oh my gosh, CES gone insane. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they do that presentation. Also, I know Mobile World Congress is thinking about doing it as well. They were 70, 80, 100,000 people as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how these mega conferences shift and what are they really going to do. And as far as like, will they be able to keep that same type and also the level of the people, this is going to be interesting as well.
Yeah, and whether they can even get the type of attendees and be able to charge, because a part of the conference is meeting people and engaging with people, and that's like not really available as much in a virtual setting, right? You're just not going to run into someone and have an interesting conversation. And a lot of this conferences that I've taken, I've spoken at with you or otherwise, have been more like webinar style, right? So there hasn't been a lot of opportunities for people to like really engage.
Now this one's good, Todd, because it's small. Like I find the smaller ones, even with I've been on one like with 30 people, which isn't tiny, but you can kind of have some engagement with people. But if you're kind of really, actually the magic number is 15, FYI. That's like actually the real magic number. That's a science. I did a scientific experiment on that, so that's actually kind of true. Because you get past 15, then you kind of have a break of like who do you talk to and who do you not, So 15, you kind of get it together. But I found that smaller ones, you can still get to know the people versus like like you said, if you're talking to 50 or 100 or 200 people, or like I was on one, they had 800 people on the webinar. It's like, well, hey, that's all great.
Yeah.
But, it's hard to have this interaction. And then I like how Todd has the breakout rooms too, because then you can kind of get into the smaller groups. And that's a good way to kind of handle it moving forward, I think. But if you can't really break it down like that as a conference organizer, it's not, like you said, it just becomes like another Zoom meeting. And then you can kind of like.
Who's going to pay like, $500 a ticket for some of these conferences, right? No one's going to pay that right now. Like,
I mean, I saw one $1,500. I've talked to people. We got virtual LP meetings, $10,000. I started laughing.
Yeah,
I just started laughing. I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Maybe 1,500, maybe $1,000, not 10,000." No.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have to also think about like how are they going to scale down their thinking? Because like how much are you really normally it's like I'm paying for speakers, I'm paying for venues, I'm paying for food. You got to pay for electricity. Like all that's kind of out of the window.
Yep. Exactly right. So it's going to be adjustment, I think, for the event space moving forward. Like it's just. different.
Very true. People start to value other things and find meaning elsewhere. That is very true. We had that conversation in our group a little bit, Tabitha. Thank you for mentioning that, because we talked about how, what have you really been doing with your time? And it can be monetized, absolutely. So if you go to that link in the chat, that app Masterminds 570, that's called VC Secrets. That's one of the. So I've been creating a lot of content. That's actually going to be live. I think it's September the 16th. And I'm going to give up some secrets, but I have 3 or 4 other ones that I'm putting up onto that platform. There is one already up there, Blockchain with Blocks Art Project. So that's for kids. That's the one I ran into Crypto Kids Camp. This one is a mini version of what I do in Accelerator. And then I have my emerging tech one, and then I have the 2-page sustainability plan. So that's all. Those are all my content creation. But and I have my podcast coming out as well. Generating a lot of content. But yeah, it's like, what have you done with your time? And it's very, very important to think about what is important for you.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do moving forward? Very critical.
Well, I gotta sign off, guys. I have a client call, but it was.
All right, darling.
Thank you all.
I'm gonna send you a note.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon. Bye.
See you,
Bye.
Marguerite.
Have a good day, Era.
Yeah.
Bye.
I got to roll too. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
No problem. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Brady.
everyone.
Me too.
So
Thank you,
so
everyone.
much.
we'll see you next week, hopefully.
Have a good
All
one.
right. Have a great week.
Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.
day, guys.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Care, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye. See you next time.